everybody. Happy 4th of July Eve. Thank you for being with us tonight. We are having our national virtual gathering, and I know it's not on the hour yet, but that's because we have some exciting things for you. Miranda and I are getting better and better at this each month that we're filling in. And so tonight we're actually going to do a couple of giveaways, books from last month, and it was on natural beauty that you could make for yourself. So the books were written by Janice Cox, and she was our speaker. And so we're going to give away 2 books tonight. The first one that we're going to do is Natural Beauty at Home Handbook. And so our illustrious Miranda behind the scenes, who knows how to do all things tech, she's going to spin, and it will go to one of our VIPs who attended. So I guess not attended, but to one of our VIPs. So here is the wheel. And the person that won is Paula Williams. Congratulations. So Paula, we will be getting in touch with you to get a contact and address where we can send your gift. Thanks to Janice Cox, who gave us these books. The next book that she gave to us that we're going to give away tonight is Natural Beauty from the Garden. Very cool book. And I believe that's her newest one that she has. And so go ahead, Miranda, spin that wheel. Here we go. This will go also to one of our VIPs, and just appreciation for how much we do appreciate you and your loyalty. Michelle Nielsen, congratulations to you. And you will be receiving the book and Natural Beauty from the Garden. And we will be getting in touch with you to get all the necessary information to get that to you. So look at us, 8 o'clock. So now we are officially starting for this evening. And I can't tell you, this topic scares me just a little bit. If there's an area that I'm weak in, it is on the financial side of stuff. So yeah, I'm super excited to hear our speaker this evening. But before we head into our speaker, I want to talk about our mission statement and our purpose statement. Our purpose statement is to empower women through homesteading. And how do we do that? We share knowledge, we build community, and we grow friendships. So this is the reason we have our virtual gathering, because not everyone can be a participant in a local chapter. And so in the interim, until you can find a local chapter, we want to offer this natural virtual gathering to you so that we can fulfill our mission and our promise to you of sharing knowledge, building community, and growing friendships. So anyways, without further ado, we are going to hear some wonderful accolades from June about the women in our organization who are accomplishing all kinds of stuff on their homesteads. So June, go ahead and share with us what these wonderful ladies are doing.
Thank you, Cindy. This is always one of my very favorite parts about our national virtual gathering. And first of all, I would like to invite each and every one of you to be a part of our online community at community.nlhg.org. And that way you can connect with like-minded women and get to know each other and connect with others in your area as well. Maybe find a chapter near you if you don't have one already. So each month in that online community, I start a conversation inviting everyone to share your accomplishments for the month. Big or small, success or fail, we want to hear about them. It's so neat to see everything that you all have been up to. I'm always so inspired when you share your Atta Girls. So we would like to say Atta Girl to each and every one of you for your accomplishments this month. And thank you for those of you that have shared in our community. I'm going to read some of those to you now. Helen shared she got her straw bale garden up and producing. It was a challenge. She still needs to work on lighting more too, but she's happy so far. And there's a beautiful picture. Atta Girl, Helen. Andy shared building my apothecary, bottled and labeled tinctures. I've been making this spring for medicines on the farm. And again, there's a lovely picture there. Atta girl, Andy. Carla has been busy with her garden. She had to make a spray for her peppers to keep the worms off of them. Her herbs are looking great. Dish soap and water work great. She'll be cutting and drying those herbs soon. They've been pulling up carpet to put down wood floors, so she hasn't been busy with much else. I'd say that's a lot. Atta girl, Carla. Janine, she shared they got some raised beds done, and there's a beautiful photo, which my thumb just clicked on that, and so it's loading on my screen here. Instead of the words, they got 3 raised garden beds made and 1 planted. That looks like a fantastic garden bed there, Janine. Atta girl. Oh, more pictures. I just love those. Tina shared they're being successful. She is being successful in overcoming weather anomalies there. They still had freezing overnight temps a little over a week ago. Everything was so root bound coming from the hoop house. She finally let the peppers and squash take over. She has a sweetmeat squash plant that was in 4-inch pot that rooted in the soil in the hoop house. Anyways, she shared a lot of details about that. And she had a 40-year-old cherry tree that was consumed by aphids. Anyways, there's a lot going on. It looks like a lot of you have been very busy in your gardens. Rebecca has been waiting months to say she finished her coop and run for her chickens. And she's ready for her girls. I believe I saw a post earlier. She has, is it Betty and Wilma, Rebecca? Your new girls. So congratulations on that. Atta girl. Everybody has just been so busy. Karen was busy organizing and getting her food storage all organized and inventoried, and raised beds, wicking beds. Atta girl, Karen. Beth was busy purging their home, moving furniture, getting ready for mother-in-law to come home. So everyone has been so busy with all of these things. Atta girl, ladies.
Thanks,
Thank you.
June. Always an encouragement to hear. And yes, do join our private online community. It is community.nlhg.org. Miranda has put that up in the chat so you all can see it. I love going there and just kind of scrolling, staying off of Facebook, because really I just want to hear about homesteading. And so that happens in this community, and it's all over the country. And I think that's my favorite part. You know, some people are in the heat of it. They don't want to move because they sweat even inside. And then we have those that are in temperatures that are almost freezing. And so it just sounds lovely when you're sitting in the heat to know that somebody in this country is cool. So check that out, community.nlhg.org. Now, what we are all here for tonight is to learn more about our finances and how that correlates with our homestead. And Nicole, we are so happy to have you here tonight. Thank you so much for coming in the night before a holiday and sharing with us. Now, I got Nicole's bio, and I have to tell you, it's very impressive, and I don't want to miss anything, so I'm actually going to read it. Nicole is a wife, mom, and hope coach. She hosts the From Hurt to Hope podcast and has written 2 books, Still Being Raised, and a children's book, Coco Finds a Compass. They both sound very interesting. Nicole is a certified financial coach and licensed insurance agent specializing in senior health insurance and family finance. Along with her family, she built Mini Main Street, a life skill development center for local community youth. Nicole loves to coach all aspects of life, faith, finances, and future wellness. And I can guess that Nicole doesn't sleep a whole lot. So, Nicole, I appreciate you so much being here, and we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I am just honored when June reached out and asked me if I would come on and share some financial, advice and things like that. I was like, really? Me? really? But I am honored to be here. I guess I underestimate myself. And I just tell everybody often that I am just your typical, typical everyday average American, born and raised kind of hometown girl that it didn't take any, high degrees to do what I have done. And I am just so normal. If anything, I had, when I was on your guys' website reading and everything, when your founder had posted in there that, she's just sharing this information to be able to help others, that resonated with me so much because anything that I share with you guys here tonight, I do not want it to ever be taken like I am an expert because I have been perfect. The only reason that I feel even this much, the teeniest bit qualified to share, my story and everything is because my life has been a roller coaster and it has been pretty messy. And I believe firmly that your mess can become your message. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen here. I just have a few slides and everything. I'm definitely a talker by nature. But then just to put a little bit of a couple faces and everything to the name. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Let me get this back up here. Put a little bit of the faces of my family along with what we have going on here today. So,
Nicole,
yes.
before you get started, I just had a quick question for you.
Mhm.
Do you prefer to wait till the end of your presentation to answer questions, or would you prefer to answer them as they come up?
Ooh,
I forgot to ask.
for the sake of probably my attention, maybe I'll wait till the end if that's okay. If everyone's
Perfect.
comfortable, if you want to collect a bunch of them, I would
Yeah.
be more than happy to answer them at the end if that works for you
Okay.
guys.
And then I just want to do a reminder to everybody, please put your questions in the Q&A, and then that way we'll have them all aggregated to give to you at the very end.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys. I definitely love conversation. So please send in your questions and I will try my best to answer those and everything. But I guess for the sake of me, staying on topic and getting all of my tips and tricks and things like that down to out to you guys, I want to be sure that I have time to touch on that as well. So up here on the screen, I have a picture of my family that I love and adore. Along my sides here in this photo is my husband, Brad. We've been together since I was 16 years old and he was 17 years old. We were high school sweethearts. And then we have 3 kiddos as of right now. We have 10-year-old twins and then a 6-year-old. And like I said, I'm a talker by nature and I am such a visual person that for me, it just kind of works best for me to tell how I've even gotten to where I've gotten in our journey and in our life just by kind of sharing our story. And now you have a couple faces to go along with the story as I share what we have done in our lives. Like I said, I'm just kind of a small town girl living in Northern Ohio and born and raised in the same town that I reside in with my family to this day. And I only feel like I'm qualified to talk to you guys today about finances because we have made a complete mess out of our finances in our life. And I believe that your mess can become your message and that your pain becomes your purpose. And this has been a topic by no means that has been easy. It is a highly emotional topic and it is very stressful. It touches all areas of your life. And I have just decided that I was going to be vulnerable because maybe I share my story, maybe it'll help somebody else with their situation and things. So it's kind of funny because if we were going to be talking about gardening and plants and all of that stuff, my husband would actually be the expert to be on your guys's, episode and everything today, because that is his expertise, along with being an amazing construction craftsman guy. He is so in love with gardening and his plants and everything like that. And I joke and I say, if it doesn't bark or cry, I can't keep it alive because I'm so distracted constantly. But like I said, being born and raised in just a small town, I've always just kind of had an old soul. I have always just gravitated to people who were several years older than me, and I was never afraid to work. I remember from some of my earliest ages, or from my earliest memories, that I had garage sales to sell money, or to sell things to make money, to buy things that I wanted. If we were having a vacation or if there was something I wanted to purchase, I had no problem with popping up a table in the front yard and selling things, because I knew my mom and dad were pretty limited on their finances. My parents had constantly, it was either feast or famine. They struggled. It was definitely a roller coaster. Financial issues caused a lot of stress in my childhood home. And I seen that and how that weighed on my parents. My dad got the 2 weeks of vacation every year from his factory job. And my mom worked, even though she would have loved to be home with us as kids, she had to work as well. And I would just always remembering watching them and thinking, I didn't want to put more stress on them, but I still wanted things. I still wanted things in life. So I picked up babysitting jobs at a very young age and would babysit for all of my friends and family members that live close by, neighborhood kids. And I was your girl to call. If you needed like a Friday or Saturday night, date night babysitter, you call me and I would be there. And I love that. I love doing that. I loved working. I loved helping people out. And then that stemmed into, as soon as I got the chance to be, an employee at a store, 15 years old here in our area is when you can be hired for most, jobs as a kid. And I applied and worked at a local hardware store. So you had a 15, 16-year-old girl, kind of bouncing around in a hardware store. And I loved every second of it, mixing paint and helping people find the nuts and bolts and fixing their problems with their plumbing and things like that. I loved every minute of it. And I wouldn't even say I worked to earn a ton of money, but at that time, I just wanted to be social. I just wanted to be out and about and helping people. And I ended up saving away a pretty good chunk of change, several $1,000s for being a high school student, saving away several $1,000s, and just knowing like it was nice to have that there. It was nice to have it there, not to ask mom and dad to pay for prom dresses and to add that extra stress on. My older sister was off in college, and just seeing like all of the financial things that she was facing. And this is like when cell phones were really starting to get, come out and be super smartphones and almost mini computers. So if I wanted that smartphone and I wanted that, it was something that I was going to have to buy. And, my parents supported me as much as they could, but I kind of wanted to, just be responsible at that. Well, as life goes, people will come in and out of your life. And that about that time in my life is when my husband now, Brad, came into my life, and I was working that hardware store job, and I met this boy, and he had never had a job before. And, mom and dad seemed to still take care of everything, gave him his lunch money and his allowance every week. And, here I was thinking, man, that must be really nice. And what I didn't know was that his lifestyle and the way he was raised, and then the way that I was raised, would definitely play a role in our financial journey. So I had this savings going and, met this boy, and he would be like, hey, let's go get Taco Bell. And I'd be like, okay, well, his mom's giving him money to go eat fast food and I'm still paying for mine. So, let's go to the movies. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And I was driving all over and, in my car and paying for my own gas. And so for once in my life, like I had another kind of influence come into my life. And it was a person and it was a friends that we were hanging out with and things. And I wanted to, hang out with them. And the next thing you know, my savings really starts to dwindle. And it caught my attention. I was like, ooh, like I don't want to be spending all of my money that I have. I want to kind of keep that and I want to hold on to that. And I've always been a planner. I've always wanted to plan out like, the next decade of my life, which I will share a little bit more on how that whole planning thing goes into my story as well. But I just I knew I wanted to grow up and I wanted to move out of my parents' house. I wanted to get out on my own. I was going to go off to college. And, the year that I graduated, college was pretty much the only option that the guidance counselors would talk to you about. And they really stressed it. Like pretty much if you wanted to be anything, you were going to go to college. And I took that to heart because I watched my sister go off to college and be the cum laude in college and just do amazing things. And I just wanted to follow in her footsteps. So my senior year of high school rolled around, and my husband, Brad, at that time, he had already graduated. He was 1 year ahead of me. And I just wanted to go out there and, do the best I could. So I applied to college, and I was accepted, and I knew I wanted to go and live on campus. And I had all these plans. I even went Black Friday shopping my senior year of high school to go out and buy like all of the cheap cookware and towels and things. So, you know, being a high school senior and already preparing like for my move out of the house and having kitchen utensils and things sounds so funny. But that was something that I did, and I knew I could get a good deal on Black Friday. So I was excited to do those types of things. So I graduated high school, knew that fall, like in my mind, I thought in my mind that I was going to be going off to college. And it was probably like July or early August of that fall. And I got a tuition bill for like $28,000 from the college that I was accepted to. I had my roommate assignment and all of these things. I had some scholarships, and I applied for some financial aid, you know, using my parents' income and different things like that. And it was really hard for me when I realized, like, you know, I wasn't going to have enough financial aid to cover that first year of college, and $28,000 about knocked me off my feet. I don't even know exactly how or why this happened or why I was processing it the way that I was, because I don't know if, you know, all individuals in that season of life and that age and stage of life would process that. But I literally looked at that and said, this is a ton of money. And I knew I was going to have to go out and take out private loans. So really about a week before school was starting, I decided that I was just going to stay local and I was going to go to a community college. And I really had to, you know, find that contentment in that and say, okay, instead of $28,000, I'm going to go ahead and go to a community school. And, you know, my whole first year might be under 6,000. So of course I still wanted to move out, wanted to be on my own. So not saying this is the best decision, but I moved in with my then boyfriend. We moved in together and we just kind of just started life. I went off to college, and of course I had to take out the maximum amount of student loans that they would give me, you know, above and beyond what the books and classes were going to cost. I took out living expenses. And so we kind of lived on that, but I also my senior year, I was brought into an attorney's office. I was an intern. And so I was working that job part-time and just kind of chugging along, you know, just trying to make the best of it. So he had a job and I had a job, but I was living primarily off of the student loans. I was going to college. And after several years of really just not knowing exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up, I changed my major 3 times in 3 years. I started with an art major, and then I went into psychology, and then I changed my major the 3rd year into teaching after 3 years of changing my majors and, you know, still, you know, taking on student loans and different things like that. I finally got to the point where I was just like, I really don't know what I am doing. And I really didn't feel like I had a clear vision of where I was going. So I made the hard decision to drop out of college, but it became one of those things that I ended up finding a lot of peace with because the student loans stopped accumulating so much. And, you know, that it is kind of a controversial thing. I mean, some people firmly believe in, you know, that is your way to pay for higher education if you don't have your parents that are able to pay for it. But for me, it was a stress for me. And I don't know why I was always so aware of how much I had been borrowing, but I was definitely stressed out about it. So at that time, I knew back to my roots that I had always had like this entrepreneurial spirit. So I was baking cakes. I used to make wedding cakes for people and big tiered birthday cakes for people. And I had started a cake business, and, you know, that was super stressful, especially during the really hot, humid months here in Ohio in the summer. And so then I finally was like, okay, it's, you know, time for me to figure out what my next move will be in a career. So I applied and started working at a local credit union, and I became a bank teller. And then I eventually stepped into the role of opening the accounts and the IRAs and different things like that. So I had this bank job, and Brad, we had gotten married and kind of just started living that American dream. He went into construction. And so here in Ohio, our construction season, especially our road construction seasons, they are very seasonal. So he'd work extremely hard during the summer months, and then he would be laid off in the winter months. And the income, I mean, it's just non-existent at that point. They make very, very little. You live on a fraction. So, I mean, it was great in the summer when my bank income was coming in and his construction paychecks were coming in. But then winter was tough. It was so tough. And we, struggled for several years, but we, kind of felt like we were at that point where we were checking off those boxes. We had gotten married, we had bought the house that was a repo, and it was, this was back in like 2012. So we got a great deal on this house. And we were, first time homeowners. And I swear my husband was known by his first name at Home Depot. He went to Home Depot for everything. And I think this is where he really started to find his love in fixing up homes and doing like carpentry construction and things along those lines. But with buying a home and being a first time home buyer, man, we ran into so many issues with this first home. From day one, it needed a new roof. It had no central air system. It definitely needed work. And like I said, it was a repo, so it had sat empty for several years and had a lot of issues we didn't know about until we had moved in and kind of started living in it. And so that's when the debt really started to become kind of part of our life. It wasn't any issue for us to go and apply for a credit card at this, hardware store in that place, or to put the heating and cooling on the heating and cooling installation onto a loan. And just kind of thinking we were kind of chugging along in life, just like our peers were. And quote unquote, I mean, just really, we were just so normal. We were so normal. We weren't crazy with like, taking huge, elaborate vacations like weekly or anything like that, or even really spending a ton of money that wouldn't be considered normal. We were just going along with the flow. And then we decided to start a family. And this is where things in our story really kind of got messy and tricky and stressful, was because with our first pregnancy, I was feeling like I was ready to go. Like, we're going to start a family and this is going to be great. He has his job, I have my job, we're going to go according to the plan and everything. But then we had gotten pregnant with twins. And I had a pretty high risk, complicated pregnancy since the very beginning. Since pretty much day one, I was extremely sick as a pregnant mother. And I was just, there were so many days I didn't even think I could get up and go into my job at the bank. And my husband would be gone 6 nights a week because they had to stay in hotels and be on the road all week long during the construction season. And we were doing the best we could. I knew in the back of my mind the day that we found out that we were having twins, that we really needed to kind of like get serious about planning and finances. But for so long, it was easy to just say like, okay, we're going to take on this project, because it was just Brad and I. We didn't have to think about anybody else. And so the discipline to start saying like, let's pump the brakes. Let's not just go out to dinner 3 or 4 nights a week, because it's not just going to be the two of us. It was pretty difficult to start breaking some of those habits and those behaviors that had came like our way of life. So I would start getting a little stressed, like, okay, we need 2 cribs, we need 2 car seats. And, I was just like multiplying everything and doubling it. And my husband, of course, being the kid that was raised completely different than me, was so used to just like getting what he wanted exactly when he wanted it. He made really great money. And so I think he thought it was okay to spend really great money, and, grew up with all the name brand stuff. I remember him going to the mall with his mom one time when he was still in school and being able to buy like $500 worth of clothes from different stores in the mall. And I'm like, that was not reality for me at all. But breaking those behaviors, are just kind of like just learning disciplines and learning like that it wasn't just going to be us anymore. If we were going to have children that we were going to have to provide for, and we needed to be a little bit more secure. That really impacted us when our twins were born 3 months early. So I was just 27 weeks when I went into labor with our twins. I was life flighted to a bigger city hospital, and I delivered them, and they were in the NICU for 3 months. And I was living out of the Ronald McDonald House and eating in the cafeteria at the hospital every single day. My husband got 1 week off to be with us at the hospital, and then he had to go back to work because they were born in August. So it was the peak and middle of the construction season. And we weren't even living in our home, which was about an hour and a half away from the hospital where our kids were. But the mortgage still had to be paid. The utilities still had to be paid. We still had cable that was, hooked up to our TV, and we still had those bills to be paid. And I was not prepared for maternity leave at all. And with that coming 3 months before we had ever anticipated, and the driving and the commuting back and forth and living, like I said, eating out of the hospital cafeteria for once in my life, like I just felt the crippling effects of finances. And I remember just getting calls from creditors when I was sitting in the Ronald McDonald House, getting ready to go over and see my babies for the day. I remember getting calls from creditors telling me, you're 45 days past due on your credit card. And, I'm like, I can't pay it. I can't pay it. I'm like, I'm on maternity leave. I'm getting a fraction of what my income was. Like, we're trying the best we can. And then I remember getting medical bills from the children's hospital where our kids were, residents. And I remember getting these medical bills starting to come in while, I'm going home to check the mailbox and pick up new, fresh clothes for another week to live out of the hospital, and looking at these medical bills and not even understanding what they were talking about and how are we going to pay this? And, being life flighted at such a young age and, a young adult and things like that. It just became so stressful so quick. And to say, like, my husband and I, we were raised by really great parents, but we weren't prepared for this type of stuff. Nobody ever sat down and talked personal finances with us ever in our lives. And it wasn't even something that we were taught about in school. There was no home ec class by the time that my husband and I had gotten to high school. Pretty much our state and the, curriculum and everything like that, just completely, I took an economics class, but it was more on the stock market. It had nothing to do with personal finance. And like I said, my husband, his parents just gave him the money, and they didn't even, I think maybe in their own hearts, they never wanted him to stress over finances or money. So they just gave him that stuff. And so I felt like the bad guy, that I was finally the one that was like saying, no, like, we cannot keep spending at the rate that we're spending. And no, we can't have everything we want because we have these 2 babies that take extremely expensive formula, to put on their weight. And we have all of these other priorities now. And it wasn't focused on us so much. It was now focused on, our children and their well-being. And so there was a divide there. There was a divide between my husband and I, because I would think that, it was more important to save for something and he would spend. And so it really became a cycle of like financial infidelity. And I use that word in acknowledgement that it seems very intense to say that. But when I would budget a certain amount of money and save it off to, make sure we had enough grocery money, and he would go spend it spontaneously. Or, I would want to tuck money away for Christmas. And then the next thing you know, him think that, new tires on his truck were the priority, and he would spend that. It felt like a lot of betrayal, and it caused so much stress in our marriage. And one of the number one causes of divorce in the United States is financial stress and strain. And I was definitely feeling that at that point. On top of that, add in childcare and the cost of childcare. I don't know if any of you guys are in that season where you have kids where you're trying to decide, do you send them to daycare or do you stay home with them? Or maybe you're a grandparent who is watching a grandchild because you know what their parents are up against and what they're facing. So it got to the point where he was gone again. The seasons have rolled around. He was gone again, where he was going to be gone 6 days a week, 6 nights a week in a hotel in an out-of-state place, working construction. And I was trying to balance the full-time bank job and motherhood, plus trying to find affordable childcare. And it just got to the point where Brad was like, I'll take care of it. Come on home, be a stay-at-home mom. And for the first time in my life, I never realized how much I really do feel good when I am out talking to people. So I learned pretty quickly that just being a stay-at-home mom wasn't the only thing that I could do. So I also wanted to contribute because there was things that I still wanted. I didn't want my husband to have to buy his own birthday present with his paycheck that came in. I wanted to be able to just tinker around and make enough money to pay for those things. Or if I wanted to take the kids, to an outing or something, while my husband was at work, I wanted to be able to contribute some to that. So I took the leap of faith just because of mutual acquaintances and things like that. And they made a multi-level marketing direct sales business look so good. I took a leap of faith and jumped into one of those and ended up falling in love with it. Not only just because of the opportunity to stay home with my kids and to make money, but more of the self-development side that came along with it. For the first time, I was reading books and I was growing as an adult. I ended up reading more books in those first couple of years in that business than I had ever read probably my entire school years of my life. I was reading books, I was traveling, I was doing a lot of really great things. And I ended up making some really good money while being able to be home with my kids. But along with that came making good money. We were spending good money. And so I had bought my husband his dream truck, and we were going to get ready to finance a camper. And we were doing all of these things. And I realized pretty quickly and abruptly that I wasn't going to be able to out earn our financial, decisions and things like that. And it got to the point where we were fighting about money all the time. I would get a great commission check, and he would spend most of it, or I would save away for something, and our priorities were just not aligned. And at this point, we were kind of living just on like a thread of like, are we going to make it, or is this going to break us? And I was just so hopeless. And in my personal story, my faith walk really plays a role into that. So I had gotten affiliated with a local church, and I, was just going by myself. Sometimes I'd take the twin babies by myself. There was a big divide in that as well between my husband and I, but the church started offering a financial class. And I decided that I was going to take it. I went home and I told my husband. He would attend a few Sunday services with me. And then when I seen this financial class was going to be offered, he was like, "Are you kidding? Really? You're going to pay money to take a financial class through the church?" And for those of you guys, it was, and maybe you've heard of it, but it's Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pay, I'm going to take this. Like, I'm going to buy the books and go to this class, and I'm going to do it. And I really hope you can do it with me. And we got the babysitter the first night of the class, and he pulled me up to the church doors, and I was like, "Come on, like, it's time to go in. Like, let's go into this class. Like you said, you're going to do this with me." And he dropped me off, and I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to Home Depot." And I'm like, "You're not coming in with me?" And my heart was broken. I thought like this was going to be the answer to all of our problems. And I really felt quite alone. I felt so much of, just isolation and the stress of the finances on me. And so I went into that class and I sat down alone. And my husband, if he was here to share his story, he would tell you that he honestly was stopped in his tracks in that parking lot. And he was told, like, go inside and sit by her or she's going to leave. And it got to that breaking point in our marriage. And he did. He came alongside of me and sat in that class. And for the very first time in our entire lives, did somebody take the time and teach us about living on less than you make and what it is like, being smart with your money, and that it's not crazy hard math to do. It usually is pretty, elementary math, addition, subtraction, and some multiplication. It doesn't have to be made so hard. And so he jumped all in. He was all in with me from day one on that side of that journey. And he sold this dream truck, and we started living and paying for everything in cash that we could. So up until this point in our journey, when we were able to take everything, and I hope you guys can see me when I show my hands in this, I'm such a visual person. But when we decided to add up all of our debt, we didn't have really any idea where we were in our finances. And so I feel like everybody starts off in the center, in the middle. So if you're thinking of like a number line, we started off in the middle. And then when I had taken out those student loans when I was 18 and 19 years old, I ended up, making us $30,000 in the negative. And then when we bought the cars, we were about $50,000 negative. And then by the time we added on the credit cards and the medical bills from our kids, we were just shy of $100,000 in consumer debt. And when we took this class, we were feeling the chains, we were feeling the pressure, we were feeling all of the stress of this. And we decided that day that we were going to dig ourselves out of this $100,000 in debt, and whatever it took. We didn't care how crazy we looked to our peers. We just knew we didn't want to have to go to work and send all the money that we worked for back to the creditors, back to the credit card companies, back to, my student loans and all these things. So slowly, it took us about 3.5 years. We eventually paid off all of our debt. We sold our cars, and I drove to cars that were more rusty on the outside than probably anything you guys can imagine. I drove cars that didn't even have air conditioning in the middle of the summer. We sacrificed. We ate at home. We honestly just got super focused on our finances. And, we are completely human. So we stumbled and we fell and we gave in and we impulse shopped and we did all of that along the way. But it was honestly one of the best decisions we had ever made in our life, because it really started forcing us to work together as a couple for the very first time in our lives. So I eventually decided I was so passionate about personal finances and just really showing people what this was about, because a lot of people aren't taught about personal finances. They're not taught about how to even do a budget. And I got really, passionate about this. This is about 2017, and I became a certified financial coach. So I started sharing our story, and we started coordinating the same Financial Peace University classes. And then I started doing one-on-one coaching. And I also picked up a part-time job working in an insurance office. And I feel like this is a God thing. And my life is so spread all over the place, but I am multidimensional and I do many different things. And at that point, being a personal financial coach, and then through the passing of one of our agents, having the opportunity to get licensed in senior health insurance, health and life insurance, but specializing in Medicare senior health insurance. So the supplemental plans, the prescription plans, the advantage plans, maybe some of you guys are familiar with those terms. And the owner of the agency coming to me and saying, I really think you can serve people who are, 65 and older, and I think you can help them save money on their healthcare. I shook my head at it and at first said, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with it. I never wanted to go back into sales ever again after that dreadful, cringeworthy home-based business that I was spamming Facebook all about. I never wanted to get back into sales again. But when he pulled at my heartstrings and said, I think you can help senior citizens with their personal finances and help them save money on their healthcare costs in that season of life, it hit home with me, because I just a few years before that had watched my grandfather go without the proper type of coverage during his retirement years and watched him lose everything when he wasn't properly insured. So after a little bit of hesitancy, I jumped into that, and I started having the opportunity to sit across from dozens and dozens of clients that were on the other side of their career. So, 60 to 75 years old, somewhere in there. Maybe they were retiring early. Maybe they had been retired for many years. And I started sitting across from them and hearing their life stories. And some of the most the best life advice that I had ever heard comes from my clients, even to this day, where they would tell me, you need to take care of your health now. And I would kind of just tuck that away. That tidbit that they give me, I took that away. And so often a lot of the things that they would share with me were on personal finances, that we needed to save for our own futures. And that I would see that some of them were having to make the decision, do I pay for my insulin this month, or do I, buy groceries? And they were living on just a Social Security check. So I know this is a national group. So, this is kind of, coast to coast. This, this is something that all people in that generation and that season of life do have to, say, do I have enough to retire, or do I have to continue to keep working? And so many of them were vulnerable and would share with me, I wish I would have saved more. I wish, I would have put money into a 401k. And I would take all of this information, and I would just it would just soak into my soul, and my heart would go out, because I knew that people were hurting. Finances, like I said, are a highly emotional topic for so many people. And I am a very anxious person and an anxious being already as it is. So just starting to think about that, oh my goodness, will Social Security be there one day? And I'm self-employed. And what does that mean? There is no pension. So I better start saving and having the discipline to put money into a 401k. And my wheels just start spinning. And then I would get done with a great appointment with one of my clients that they never pay me to see me. I earn money when I enroll them in the right plan for them. And so I feel like I was giving them a service, but they were serving me more than what they ever even knew, because they were sharing their life wisdom with me. And I ended up realizing I want to teach my kids different. I don't want my kids to go all the way through life and then marry somebody, and then that person be raised a completely different way than they were, and this cause as much stress in their life. So I really started to think about ways that I would be able to teach my kids these things that I wish I would have known, because your pain does become your purpose, and my children are my purpose. And it's been a really beautiful thing, and how all of it kind of comes all together. And so through just being really passionate about, wanting to make sure that we were living as good managers of the money that we had, and hearing from my clients and knowing like how this will be part of your life forever, and ending up coaching widows at my church, women who had their husbands manage the finances their entire marriage, and then their husband passes away and they have no idea how to even pay the utility bills, or they, their husbands were very, very frugal, and they never were able to even get their hair done because their husbands were always in charge, and their husbands pass away and they get left with this lump sum of money, and then they blow through that because they decide to take 3 cruises in a year. I've seen so many different situations that I just realized that there was a really big gap that I want you guys to all know, to give yourself grace, because if you came from a household where you were taught and told about personal finances, you're very fortunate, because I sincerely believe that a lot of the reasons why our young adults struggle so much is because they're not taught, and parents are so busy. Really, being a parent of 3 young children, parents are so busy. Most of the time it takes 2 incomes, to provide for a family, and parents are busy, and there's just this disconnect, and there's a lot of life skills that are not being taught, and finances being one of them. And so with this whole big picture being painted and everything, I was able to take a lot of the wisdom and things that my clients, my retiree clients, were sharing with me, and realizing like, I just wish I would have known this earlier. And now my mission is to pass that into the younger generation. So my husband and I, like I said, we're not perfect by any means, but we had to embrace just living our life completely different than other people, and not caring what people thought of us when we were driving the cars that were rusty, and what they were going to think about us if we had to decline the invites to go out to dinner with them, and we offered to cook at home for them instead because we weren't, able to afford restaurant food anymore. Things along those lines. We started looking really crazy to our peers, but knowing at the end of it, we were doing it for a reason. So my very next slide on here, it just says personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% knowledge. It is not a hard mathematical thing. It is really, like I said, additional or basic addition and subtraction. I am such
Nicole,
yes.
I hate to interrupt, but can you click your arrow on the bottom? We're not seeing your slides transition.
Oh, okay. Let me see here. It must have paused here. Must have went to sleep. Okay, let me try one more time. Just trying to get it to go to the next one. It's just a quote, but I really would like for you guys to be able to see the next video I'm going to share with you. Let me try one more time. Okay, I think it's waking up. I didn't realize that it would time out on me. Okay, I hope it's showing now.
We can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, just a simple quote there. Personal finance is 80% behavior, 20% knowledge. That is so true. That this is the budget sheet that I use. This is like a July. I printed out a blank one, our July 2024 budget sheet. So simple. I keep the dates, the calendar at the top, and then I just have weeks. And then what I do is I take our income and I write what our paychecks will be that week, or for myself, like what my income will be is very, very, it fluctuates constantly. I have good seasons, I have bad seasons. So we just put this on here, and it's a basic income minus outgo. So getting a pulse on like, how much are our utility bills typically, and what are we saving for? I mean, this isn't anything fancy that you have to use Excel to do. You do not have to be an expert in spreadsheets or any budgeting software or anything like that. Really what I do is I take how much we're going to have coming in that week or that month or that pay, whatever your pay schedule is. Maybe you get paid bi-weekly, maybe your salary, maybe your commission, maybe your hourly, however it be. And we take that and we subtract out our expenses. And one of the principles that we learned was that you give every single dollar an assignment. You tell it where to go instead of wondering where your money went, because so often it is so easy. And maybe somebody on here relates to this, that, you know, you get paid on a Friday and then you spend your weekend, you know, stopping at a coffee shop or going here, getting dinner. You know, you swipe that debit card and you wake up on Monday morning and you're like, where did all of our money go? And just through some really basic additional subtraction, you know, saying that we want to tell every single dollar where to go instead of, you know, wondering where it all went. So saying if we had 20 extra dollars that week, that we were going to put that on the credit card, or if we had 50 extra dollars, we were going to save that somewhere or put that somewhere instead of just letting it kind of live there and then be subject to like impulsive shopping. That was a really big thing for us, because through this whole journey, I have realized that I have ADHD and my husband has ADHD, and he is a very impulsive person. So I don't know if anybody else is kind of, you know, married to somebody that kind of just makes these spontaneous decisions. Well, my husband's financial decisions and impulse shopping had a lot to do with his ADHD and just being an impulsive dopamine chaser kind of a person. And for him, money made him feel good when he spent it, but then he felt really, really bad when he realized what he was doing on the other side of it. So just picking up on our own key personal tendencies and things like that, and seeing how like we work together, that it became so much behavior. Just being able to say, no, we're going to make short-term sacrifices and say no to eating out 6 times this month, just so that we can have long-term results. And I often look at debt as paying for something that you've already done. When you have debt, I believe, especially consumer debt, like more of like the car payments and the credit cards and things like that, it's paying for something from the past. So when, you know, we would go to work every day and we take that money and we'd have to pay it out, you know, pay it out to the cars and pay it out for vacations that we put on credit cards from years before. We were paying for the past, and it was really kind of hard. And it was a hard season to walk through that and realize, like, we're paying for food we already ate. We're paying for cars we're already driving. We're paying for, you know, vacations that we already enjoyed. And when you can shift your perspective to, I want to go to work, or I want to contribute, however, you know, whatever finances come into my home, I want to use that for a future goal. So now that our consumer debt has been paid off, besides our utilities, we get to decide what we're going to do with our income. We can decide if we're going to save for the family vacation, or like this summer, we decided that we were going to put a handy down pool that my mom took out of her backyard. We were going to put that up in our backyard. And do we get to do everything and finish the entire, you know, deck around the pool this summer? No, because it has to be done in phases, and we have to be able to say we're content with what we have. And that 80% behavior, I think, plays a lot into social media and contentment. This has been a really big thing for me, being raised in, I was raised, I'm a young millennial. So being raised where everybody's life is posted on social media, or even having Pinterest and coming up with these ideas and realizing, like, I would like to have that one day, but having the discipline to be able to tell myself, I don't need that right away. So through a combination of tons of things, I know that it is a small component of actually knowing that, you know, it's a good thing to live on less than you make, and that if you take your income and you subtract out how much it actually costs you for your lifestyle and your living expenses, that you have to just have that discipline to live on less. And we were thankful enough, fortunate enough to start this process when our kids were little, because they didn't care if we had Disney Plus on the TV. Like, they didn't care what subscriptions we had, but they're now getting to the age where I realize that so many of my kids' clothes are hand-me-downs from church members or family members that have kids that have outgrown their clothes, that my kids haven't had the luxury of going out to the mall and buying a brand new shirt. And my son, he's like all about his clothes at this point. So realizing that I do want to teach him to live within his means. So right now we're in a season of life where we are really just trying to educate our children. And if you can see the background behind me, I know it kind of looks silly, so I'm going to share with you guys on the next screen a little bit of a video. It's an overview of the place that was mentioned, Mini Main Street, and I will share with you guys what we're kind of doing here and how we're hoping to educate the next generation on personal finances, so that hopefully they won't struggle as much as Brad and I did in our lives.
I'm not seeing a change in screen.
Oh, okay. Let me
Okay.
wake it up again. Just give me 1 second.
No worries. Thank you.
I didn't realize I'd go to sleep after I talk on a screen for too long. Okay. Is it up there now by chance? Does it say hello from Mini Main Street?
It looks
no,
like
it
it's
doesn't. Okay.
not yet.
Let's see here. Here it is. Hopefully it's on there.
We can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So here is a little overview of our Life Skills Center. Hello. I hope you are all doing well. My name is Nicole, and along with my family, we built Mini Main Street located in Monroeville, Ohio. Mini Main Street is a life skills center for kids to learn essential life skills like banking, career exploration, and social skills. We are so excited to not only offer open play times for families to come and enjoy time at Mini Main Street, but more importantly, structured classes where kids can learn about opening bank accounts, filling out job applications, and sticking to their personal budget. We believe that play is the best way for kids to learn. So we encourage kids to be able to play and explore in our community. Everything that we have here is based for kids to be able to interact with. But we do have real tools in our construction site, and you can really hear your heartbeat with this stethoscope. This is designed for kids to be able to use their imagination, but to also be encouraged that they hold a very important place in our community as well. We want kids to be able to dream about their future and about what skills they have to help other people in our community. Kids are free to explore in each of our structures. We have everything from a town hall to a mechanic shop. We love free play, but what makes Mini Main Street completely different than any other interactive kid community is that we have structured classes through our curriculum, Centered Compass for Kids. This curriculum is geared towards students grades 4th and up. At Mini Main Street, we believe that students should be able to not only learn, but also practice essential life skills like filling out applications, completing a mock interview, and managing their personal finances. Mini Main Street is an amazing place with an interactive floor-to-ceiling life classroom, and we are so excited for you to visit us. Hope to see you soon. Okay, so that is just a little bit of the overview of the space that I'm sitting in today. Because like I said, my pain has become my purpose in equipping this next generation to be able to know that they each hold such a special place in our communities, that we are always going to need electricians. We're going to need our mechanics, because if we don't have fire trucks that run. And that if we don't have electricians, we're not going to have lights in our hospitals, and that maybe they want to be a teacher. But if they are they going to be able to, buy a $70,000 car, like living within their means. So we teach kids here at Mini Main Street. This is some of our mock money that we use because I love everything to be as realistic as possible. For our 4th grade and up students that visit us, they have to go over to our little grocery store and stay within their personal budget. They apply for jobs and fill out applications. And then they go over here on the other side of me is our bank. So they take their little paycheck over to the bank, and they have loan payments that they have to make if they decided to finance certain things. But then they have bills that come to their home, and they have to go over here to our town hall and make payments on them. And it's teaching them in a way that these are concepts that, a lot of the times it is addition and subtraction. I focus more on the personal finances for like households and families instead of investments and things like that. I say that is outside of my league, but I just know so much of it is a discipline. So maybe they walk into our retail shop and they can't buy all of the, iPads and all of the toys in our mock shop that they want to buy. But having that discipline to say, I'm going to be content with what I have, or I need to earn more money. And just starting to teach that at a younger age. Like I said, I think in our world and where we currently are in our economic status and things like that in our country is that we are seeing things be more expensive. So exactly what you guys are doing, being homesteaders and things like that, and being able to provide your own produce for your families, or being in an exchange where you're able to, produce swap with other local people. I think that is so much more important, that you guys are so much on the advantage side of this, because most of the people, as you guys know, you kind of feel like the crazy ones, where my husband and I felt like the crazy ones when we were working our way out of debt and saying that we didn't want consumer debt. That there's a lot of people who think it's crazy, to be self-sustainable and to be able to provide for your family, or to do things that are just a little bit different. But you guys are on the advantage side of that, where you're already like, yeah, I know I want to take care of things myself, and I know I want to put the hard work into it, and I can make things happen, and it can be possible, and things like that. So I just want to say that it is a complex subject if you let it be. But if we can teach 4th through 8th graders about personal finances, that they earn money and they have to learn to live on less than they make when they're here in our little community, and that debt is very stressful and it is very emotional and things like that. And if we can say that it does just take a few easy action steps, that, it's a process and things like that, but you can definitely find hope on the other side of your finances. I just know now that it's so much more important for people to realize to live within their means, and that they have to be accountable for their own choices and their actions and things like that. It's so important. So I didn't get into a ton of the budgeting tips and things like that today with you guys. Obviously, that would be like a whole long seminar and things like that. But I do want to encourage you that if you are in a marriage, that it's important to try to be on the same page. My husband and I weren't for a very long time, and it got to the point where we had to make the decision to separate, like what bank accounts my husband could see because of his impulse shopping and things like that. But if you are a single person, finding an accountability partner that you can share your personal financial goals with, so that they're able to talk with you through those. I highly recommend the book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. It simplifies personal finance, and it really does give you the tools and things like that to be able to pay off that consumer debt and to be more free. I think ultimately the reason we make a lot of our decisions and our lifestyles is for freedom. It is for freedom from fillers in our food and artificial things, or more freedom in our, time and finances and all of that stuff. So I know that this group here, I really do feel that you guys are on the up and up, and that you guys are really kind of like the trendsetters and things. So let finances be just kind of the next little piece to your puzzle, where you guys are, setting your families up for success in your whole lives in general.
Nicole,
Yes.
thank you so much. This was fantastic and a lot of great information. I know our family is a huge fan of Dave Ramsey, and my adult children have all used him. So he has a lot of good information. And wow, you've been busy. So really, really appreciate what you had to share, and your vulnerability tonight. That's not easy. And yet it really is impactful when you're telling your story, to show the principles that you've taken a hold of and applied them to your life. I do want to ask our audiences here, if anybody has any questions, be sure and put them in the Q&A, so we can let Nicole know. I think you must have been answering them, because nobody has a question so far, unless somebody comes up with one. And I'm not seeing anything. So I just want to thank you again for coming on. This is not an easy topic, and you did a lovely job sharing it through your story. And we just appreciate you and what you had to share with us tonight.
Yes, thank you guys so much for allowing me this opportunity. And I also have donated 2 of my books, the Cocoa Finds the Compass and the Still Being Raised. And so I hope that you guys enjoy those. And I am very inspired by what you guys are doing here. So thank you for being part of this.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. And hold on, I'm getting one more message here.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we did the last call for questions. And so anyways, we appreciate you. We appreciate your information. And again, thank you for coming and sharing with all of us tonight. And Miranda has put up your website and a bunch of other information, so people can check out the information further on your website and your books and all that kind of stuff. So thank you again. Appreciate you. Thank you, ladies, for being on here tonight. And until next month, when we do another virtual gathering, I hope you all stay cool and have a fabulous time homesteading on your homesteads. So thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.